Okay, we are live. Welcome to our live stream preview of one of the most prestigious events in the world of golf. I'm your host, Lauren Jump, and I'm here to guide you through all the excitement leading up to Thursday. The British Open, aka the Open Championship, is the oldest of the four majors. Now in its 151st year, the Open was first held all the way back in 1860. So today we'll give you a quick course preview, a little bit of history, some betting and DFS advice, and then the fun part, we're going to be doing a live draft at the end. But first, let's kick things off with a preview of the Royal Liverpool course. Our experts, Len and Ryan, are here to give us the lowdown. Now, before they start, just want to say that the three of us are in a one-and-done pool together. We also have Kevin, who will potentially realize his mistake later on in the show for not playing with us. I'll give you a little hint. It might be during the draft. Okay, over to you, Len.
Yeah, this is, one of the grand old courses in the Open Rota, Royal Liverpool, familiarly known as Hoylake. And this will be the 13th time we are seeing it. We've only seen it twice in the past 50 plus years. 2006, Tiger Woods won at 18 under. 2014, Rory McIlroy won at 17 under. So it sounds pretty easy, and it can be pretty easy. And as with all the courses, links courses, it's all dependent upon the weather. I've been checking the weather religiously. It changes every 14 seconds on weather.com and windfinder.com. But right now, it doesn't look to be ferocious like we saw yesterday at the Scottish Open. So we could see those scores again. As some characteristics, like with most links courses, the fairways are pretty flat. These are wide in some places, but there is trouble if you do not stay completely accurate off the tee. They now have some pot bunkers strategically placed where they think golfers can hit the ball. In the modern golfer can hit the ball 300, 320 yards. So that is trouble lurking. I think as with most links courses, we will see the most action around the greens, 100 yards and in. So many different options for the golfers, so many different club choices, where in PGA Tour events, it's pretty much wedge, wedge, wedge. Here you can use a putter, you can use a wedge, you might be able to use an iron, a hybrid. Again, it is all dependent on the weather and especially the wind.
Awesome. Ryan, do you have anything you'd want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the flatter open venues, I would say, too. There's a lot of strategically placed fairway pot bunkers that you don't want to be in. I think, pretty much players of all lengths can compete this week. I think it might tighten up around some of the dog legs where some of the fairway bunkers are for some of the longer hitters. So it might keep everybody really in play. Tiger Woods famously hit only one driver here back in 2006, but it was very burnt out. I don't think it'll have that much fire this week. But still, I think you're going to be able to see all types of players be able to do pretty well here.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Len and Ryan. I feel like I'm there myself. Clearly, it's a tough course. So let's kind of take a look at how the golfers have fared here in the past. Ryan, you kind of stole my thunder here with my trivia question I was about to start with. But for anyone listening who wasn't paying that much attention, you can try and get the answer right. The question is, which golfer famously won the Open while using his driver only once throughout the entire championship in 2006? Any guesses?
I wonder who that might be.
Ooh, I think he's got maybe 15 majors.
Yeah, just a few.
Few Opens.
I just checked this before we came on. Tiger Woods famously was outside the top 50 in driving distance that week. And he obviously did pretty well regardless. Again, as Ryan mentioned, it was really very firm and fast and baked out that week. One other thing, and I don't know if I'm getting ahead here, but Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods both did most of their scoring on the par fives. Both were double digits in the par fives. Rory 14 of his 17, I think, on the par fives, and Tiger 12 of his 18 under on the par fives. There were 4 par fives then, only 3 now, and now 2 of them are more than 600 yards. So maybe if there's a little bit of weather, we won't approach those 2 numbers again.
All right, we'll see what happens. Okay, so let's jump to last year. It was a thrilling Sunday at the Open, and of course, Rory was in the lead. Everyone was watching him at St. Andrews. And then Cam Smith came in. He got 5 birdies in a row to land on top of the leaderboard. And all of a sudden, an hour later, his name is being carved on the claret jug. So I know, Len, that, Cam Smith is definitely a buzzy name for you right now, which we'll get to. But prior to that dramatic finish in 2021, it was Colin Morikawa. And then Shane Lowry won in 2019, Francesco Molinari in 2018, and Jordan Spieth in 2017. So, of course, Rory was also a winner at some point. That was in 2014. But did you know that he started a trend? 6 of the last 8 Open winners have reached at least 15 under par, a streak starting with Rory's 2014 win when he hit 17 under. So, we'll see if we can keep that going too. But despite his success, Rory is far outpaced in Open appearances by Phil Mickelson himself. He, out of the current field, has played in the most Open championships with 28, making the cut 20 of those times. Rory has the most top 10 finishes with 6, while Adam Scott, Jordan Spieth, and Dustin Johnson are close behind. They each have 5. Okay, enough of me. We know the British Open is returning to Hoy Lake for the 13th time. Kevin, can you break down some of the more memorable Opens played at that course?
Yeah, well, since the turn of the century, it's been 2006, 2014. That Tiger stat in 2006, I think, hit all of our radars. But of course, no one can really touch Tiger anywhere. Before that streak Lauren mentioned there, he was the only one, I believe, in the previous 7 years to break double-digit under par. But this is a course that true superstars have won at. Tiger and Rory are going to be the first guys that kind of come to mind for a lot of people. Rory also dominated in 2014. No one got closer than 2 shots to him on the final day, and that wasn't until 18, when he already had the trophy in the bag. 2014, wasn't only Rory taking out the course, though. 11 players finished 10 under par or better. And among that crew, McIlroy, Fowler, Scott, Schwartzel, and Lowry all ended up in the top 10, and they'll be back this week. And as will DJ, who finished just outside of the top 10, the top 11, excuse me.
All right. Well, sounds like a tough place to play, but we'll see what happens. Let's kind of dive into the nitty-gritty now and talk about some of the betting favorites. Len, what's the 411 on the top contenders?
I checked last night, and Rory McIlroy, coming off his, he was the favorite even before winning in Scotland yesterday, but he was plus 650, 6.5 to 1. I checked this morning before we got on, and he had dropped to plus 700 to go even with Scotty Scheffler, both at plus 700. But now Rory's back at plus 650. So they're going to be the top 2 all week. They're going to jockey right there. I imagine Rory is going to end up going off as the slight favorite. And after that, the usual suspects. John Rahm is 12 to 1, Cameron Smith 16 to 1, Brooks Koepka 20 to 1. These guys I expect them all to be in the conversation. I expect them all to, as I like to say, get major television minutes on Sunday. And then some of the others, and I like these guys as well, 22 to 1, especially Victor Hovland, Ricky Fowler, he's just rejuvenated, Tyrrell Hatton, and Patrick Cantlay, who I know we're going to talk about. A little surprised to see him that high in there. So those are the usual suspects, and I think those odds are, pretty on par with, the way it should be, the favorites and who's playing well and all of that.
Does it concern you that Rory won last week?
That's actually been a lot of talk in the 24 hours since he has won. And I don't think so. I think if it was someone younger, like if Bob McIntyre had won, I think he'd be celebrating for, he wouldn't be done answering text messages by the time it was Thursday morning. Rory, I don't want to say it's old hat, but I think he'll keep his eye on the real prize, and he will have a mild celebration, or had a mild celebration last night. I think he'll be much more tempered. And, maybe it'll even be the opposite effect. It'll really loosen him up and free him up to play well. So I think a veteran player will handle it much better. And obviously Rory is.
I could see it happening. It's very possible. With that said, let's kind of turn it over to Kevin for some strong value plays.
Absolutely. Yeah. McIntyre, I am kind of worried about him too because of that, though. He probably had a bit of disappointment. He does really crush on links courses, though, so I'm not going to pass him up altogether. But he's not going to be featured in this section here. When it comes to majors, there's kind of a certain eye test, that I feel golfers have to pass. We've seen some surprise winners lately. But over the course of the last 5 to 10 years, there's just a certain level of trust that I personally am going to give more to certain guys that have kind of proven it, after watching them play over and over. So in this section, we are going to be banking on some favorable conditions. There's a lot of scoring has just been through the roof here, and this tournament, this course in the past. So the two guys I really like a little bit further down the board are going to be Hovland and Colin Morikawa. They're still striking it with the best of them. Hovland, he showed up in a big way this year. Like all the big tournaments, he's coming close. And Kawa too, he's already got an Open under his belt. Of course, they're both struggling in the short game. That goes without saying. But that's the case with a lot of the top ball strikers. And when I'm putting down bets, I want to gamble on the upside. Both of them, are near 30 to 1. So for throwing down a few bucks here, I want guys that I think can score and are going to hit it far and tight. And besides that, close, I think, to me, another guy in that section is Cameron Young. He's not quite as accomplished and proven as those guys, but he did get a T2 here last year, so don't forget about him too. Next on the list, we have Denny McCarthy. He has been a top 25 machine for a while now, and he is so good with the putter, and you need to make putts to win big tournaments. He's well over, or well around 100 to 1 at the betting book, so we're not talking about a big investment here to win a few bucks. And he does check in at a pretty favorable price on DraftKings too. Speaking of those contests, two guys that have really had a lot of success on link courses are Tony Finau, Tom Kim. Definitely different levels of experience there. But that 8,000 range is kind of tough to pick out, who you really want in there. And I think those two guys with their history on the links courses will hopefully stand out a bit for you. Last but not least, we've talked a lot about Tiger already. Everyone loves betting on Tiger. And wouldn't you know it, there's a Tiger in the field, and Tiger Christensen. So why not throw a buck on him for old time's sake and see where that takes you?
Wait, that's really fun. Yeah. Okay, we should all do that. I love that. Good job, Kevin.
Hey, one guy I wanted to ask you guys about, though, that I was thinking about, I saw Wyndham Clark. He was 60 to 1. He's US Open champ, won another designated event this year. Like, I know he doesn't have that much, links experience, but for a guy that's played pretty much like a top 10 golfer all year, I mean, that seems like pretty solid value. What do you think about that, Len?
He's definitely a hard guy to gauge. And I think I may have written that because obviously he just won the US Open, but before that, he had never done anything in any major. He made the cut here last year, barely. I think it's going to be a big ask for him to have another good week so soon on a links type course. And maybe in a few years, after he gets a few more under his belt, comes back to the Open a few years, which he'll now be playing with regularity thanks to his US Open win, I'd give him more of a shot. But anytime a guy whose two best clubs are driver and putter, and I think that's the case with Wyndham Clark, I think, I fully expect him to make the cut. And if the conditions are right, then he could maybe even surprise a little bit.
That's a really interesting one, Ryan, because after he won, I work on your guys' articles a lot, week in and week out. He was popping in there a lot. If you look back on his results, he was just racking up top 10s, top 25s going to that event, and way different players, but that's kind of the thing McCarthy's doing right now too. So it's it's like trying to find that pattern, and maybe there's some similarity there.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely in form right now. He's been killing the short game. I feel like he definitely has a chance. We'll see what happens. A lot of people have been ranking him pretty high in the top 10. So winning, maybe not, but finishing high, I think it's possible. Okay, so let's move on and have a little bit more fun and talk about who's not going to win. Ryan, I believe you have some interesting thoughts on this.
Yeah, I wanted to do something like this and just see how close we could get to the top of the board before I saw somebody that was like, he's definitely not going to win. And the guy I came to was Patrick Cantlay, 22-1. He is the number 4 ranked player in the world. He hasn't won this season, but he's had a lot of big finishes and decent numbers, especially ball striking wise. But honestly, if you go back and you look at his major record, like he's started to get better. He struggled early in his career, but the last few years he's been racking up some top 25s. But when I think back to back 9 Sundays at majors, the only one that really comes to mind was 2019 when Tiger won at the Masters and he made an eagle on 15 to get to the lead. And then after that, that's really the only time that I can remember him being right there with the shot at a major. So I would definitely choose to look away from Patrick Cantlay. I thought about Scotty Scheffler at plus 700 just because I can't fathom the fact that he has not won since the Players, and he has been striking the ball as good as we've ever seen a player strike the ball in the last decade plus. But I mean, these at the Open, you got to putt, you got to make some putts, and I just don't know if I've seen this. We've seen this for months now, where he hits it great, but he just doesn't make enough putts to win. So he might finish T3 again, but I won't be betting Scotty to win it at plus 700. That's for sure.
It's really interesting what's happened with him since I was watching one of the the pregame Masters deals, and they were showing him on the putting green, and he was visibly upset. Something you almost like never see him do. And so, I mean, we've seen since like he's just crushing, and I mean, it's tough to not bet him, but also might be one of those cases where it might not be fixed until next year.
You're right.
Ryan, question: out of Cantlay or Justin Thomas, if it came down to those two, who would win? Both winless, I believe.
That's a sneaky one. JT hasn't. He's gotten a little bit better as of late, but something has been off with him all year. Putting number has been pretty terrible. I still think in that situation, I think I would give the edge to Cantlay just because I think he's just a better ball striker right now. But that would be a close one. I don't really expect either one to factor too much into this one.
Yeah, Thomas has not done well in this tournament either. We're giving away some draft strategy maybe, but
Len, what do you think?
Yeah, he's real. His stats and his results, they don't really align. He's a great, around the green, one of the best scramblers. He's like, I didn't check this week, but last week he was around 12th in strokes gained around the green. And he was 30-something in strokes gained approach. Those are pretty darn good numbers. That even if you're putting terribly, you can have some high finishes. Just ask Hideki Matsuyama, who wins with, so something is just not right. Those stats, you would look at the stats and you would think there would be better finishes, even with putting that's about 150th. And he's now gone to left-hand low to try something different. He looked a little bit better in Scotland, at least for the first couple of rounds, and he made the cut, which, baby steps. So it's just really surprising. And obviously he's now with Bones Mackay. And when that happened, we just thought this superstar pairing would rocket to the moon and take, Justin Thomas to the top, and it just has not happened. And we've seen that with a couple of where Cam Young just got Paul Tesori from Webb Simpson on his bag, and that was supposed to take Cam Young to the next level with a veteran caddy. It hasn't happened. Patrick Cantley now with Joe LaCava, Tigers guy, and it's still very early there, so not the same thing. But we haven't these caddies that were supposed to take these golfers over the top. It's just not happened. In fact, it's gone the other way.
Yeah, one more quick note on JT. If the playoffs started today, I don't think he'd be in. I think he was 71st coming into the week. So, I mean, it's hard to look towards the playoffs at the major this week, but there's only 2 more weeks after this to get in that top 70. So, that's just one more thing to think about. And there's a few more FedEx Cup points at stake this week. So,
and he normally would not play the 3M Open or the Wyndham, but we may have to see him play both, depending on what happens this week. So, that's another component in this whole equation.
Big news for those tournaments.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, do or die for JT. He has a few more chances, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't make it, but I could definitely see him pulling it through too. So we'll see what happens.
He does have to get in a Ryder Cup mode pretty soon. So
like literally like in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Just start now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk about some DFS strategies too. So I know last year, Cam Smith went for 9,500 on DraftKings and won, which was a great value considering the highest player went for 11,100, I think, and it was Rory. So pretty good deal there. And we all know this, but when it comes to daily fantasy, we're all striving to find that perfect balance between like star power, sleeper picks, but obviously there's a lot more to incorporate. So Len, I'm curious, how does the weather, the top 70 cut make an impact, or anything else we need to consider?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to consider. And first and foremost with DraftKings, and this was a surprise to just about everybody, I think, is that their pricing is unlike we've ever seen before, except maybe the Tour Championship when guys are starting staggered and we see some really high prices and some really low prices. But generally, everything is really from the low 11,000s to 6,000 at the bottom. But here we have Scotty Scheffler at 12.5, all the way at the top, much higher than Rory McIlroy, who's the number 2 guy. And not only at the other end, we go below 6,000, and not just a few guys going below 6,000, but a full 1/3 of the field, more than 50 guys. I counted 52 that go between 5,500 and 5,900. And so that really threw a bunch of wrenches into conventional strategy. But I will say that, I do think the winner is going to come from one of the top guys, and you always want to get the winner on your roster, and those are generally the higher price guys. So I would, try and get one of those guys, if not 2, and you might be able to do 2 now because you can dip into the 5,000s. And, okay, you think the 5,000s are terrible golfers, and they are the worst golfers in the field, but there are 50 of them. Some of them are going to make the cut. It's just probability. So, pay up. I don't think this is a week for a balanced lineup. I think this is a week where you want to get 1, 2, or however many top name guys that you think can be there on Sunday into your lineup and fill it out at the bottom. And there are some guys in my DraftKings article that went up this morning that do have we have 4 6,000s and even 3 5,000s in there for people to consider.
Great plug, Len.
Love it. Ryan, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, Len does the DraftKings every week. I do the FanDuel every week. And, there's slight differences between the two, but FanDuel seems to be, there's more of a bunch. Everything gets usually a little bit more compressed, I would say. You can afford to put a few more of the bigger names in there and still get a couple more decent guys at the bottom. I think, the big thing is that the tee times are going to be spread out this week more than any other week. You got 156 guys. Everybody's going off of 1 tee. Len talked about the weather and how it can just switch like that. And you might look at the forecast and might think, oh, the winds looks like it's going to be up here. Let's get this side of the draw. I think if you're making multiple lineups, I think I've definitely done it before where I try to get all 6 guys from one side, all 6 guys from another side, just in case there's any sort of big variability in the weather, because that's, there's no other tournament that's going to be as weather affected as this. Couple more guys that make the cut, top 70 instead of the normal top 65 in ties. You got to just sort of play it from both sides, I think. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. And I think also the Open, we see a lot more veteran players do well than maybe some of the other major championships where it's just, we get into these PGA and US Opens where it's got narrow fairways, thick rough, and it's just how far and straight can you hit it? And that's kind of the question that gets asked. Whereas here it's like, there's numbers on a yardage, but sometimes that could be a 5, 6, 7 club difference just depending on the wind. So there's just a lot more variability, I think, when we come to the Open.
And I think the European players tend to be more familiar with that type of scenario. So the worse the weather is, as you get closer to the lock, and I always tell people to check the lock, and the lock comes early this week. It's Wednesday night. I know it's Wednesday night here in Los Angeles, but it's much earlier, 6, 7, 8 hours earlier than usual. Check the weather very close to the lock, and that could help you with some last minute advantages right there.
Yeah, midnight Eastern, I believe, on DraftKings on Wednesday.
All right. Well, I'll definitely be checking the weather. Kind of glad I'm not a spectator at that one. Probably seems like not as fun, but all right. Speaking of fun, you guys ready to do this draft?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, tell us the rules.
Okay. Yes, I am perked up now because I'm happy to bring this out into the open. Me and my friends for a few years, essentially, we're just going to do a snake draft. Very simple. Doesn't require the obligation of season long. A little less work than a DFS lineup or 150 DFS lineups. So what we are going to do is simply the 4 of us are going to draft 5 players each in snake setup, and the winning score will only be based upon the total strokes under par. We're going to assume it's going under par amongst our 5 guys. And there will be $100 in the pot, so we're not playing for nothing.
It's very serious.
And what happens if a guy misses the cut? What's his score?
He just doesn't accumulate any more points.
Oh man.
Okay.
Not a good situation if that happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the FSGA one, Len, right? I mean, if your player doesn't make the cut, that's it.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? I've been in these type of things before, and I hadn't been in one in a long time, and it jarred my memory. But if you pick a guy and he barely misses the cut, and then on the weekend it starts blowing and blowing and blowing, and the guy who made the cut goes to 10 over and 15 over, you're better with the guy who missed the cut. I mean, it's impossible to figure it out, but that's a very real possibility. So, yeah.
You're not wrong. We do account for that a little bit when I do it. In my friends' leagues, but going for simplicity's sake today. So let's hope it pays off.
Gotcha.
Just got to get someone with good vibes.
I'm going to get the winner and then 4 guys that miss the cut.
Okay. Let's see. You know what? Could work out. That would be a pretty cool one. Okay. So now for the draft order. As I mentioned a few times, Len, Ryan, and I are in the same one and done pool. Kevin used to be in it, but he chose not to this year because he doesn't like to have as much fun, but that's okay.
It's true.
So whoever picked the golfer with the lowest score last week is pick 1, and we'll go from there. Originally, I thought it was me, but then when I checked, I realized Ryan actually had the lowest score. You picked Tommy Fleetwood, at 9 under?
Yep, Tommy Fleetwood. I thought he was going to win for a little bit, but he just could not get off the par train.
But he's Tommy
doubles
Fleetwood.
the loss.
That is one guy I would have said is not going to win because he's Tommy Fleetwood.
That's a fair point.
No, but he does play well. He does play well. He's
He
had a
does.
great year too. Had a great year too.
Yeah.
9
Yeah.
under, and what
Indeed.
place was that? Like 6, 8? What, I forget.
I think it was T6.
6, yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, he doubled the last, so he was even.
Yeah.
He was even better. Yeah.
Okay. So I was next. I picked Shane Lowry. He was 7 under. And Len, go ahead. Tell him who you picked.
I picked Bjork. It's just dreadfully out of it, and just actually the guy I wanted to pick Tyrrell Hatton because I really thought he was going to win, but I had picked him earlier in the season, so I didn't have him. I'm woefully behind in this league, and so I am just running out the schedule, and I just well, let's take a flyer on somebody, and maybe I can move up a little bit. So yeah, it wasn't a prudent play.
Sorry, Len. I don't mean to point that out, but
You did better than me, Len.
I was going to ask Kevin.
True.
I was going to say, Kevin, who was your pick? But then doesn't matter. So anyway, you're fourth. Although maybe the fourth pick is better. You could be at the turn, and who knows? So we'll see how it pans out. You guys ready to do this?
Absolutely.
All right. So I guess Ryan, that means that you're up first.
All right. Well, I'm just not going to think about this. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go with Rory. I think so. We were talking about that earlier about whether it's good or bad to like bet a guy after, they win the previous week. And normally I really do not like to do that, but Rory is definitely one of them that when he gets on a heater, he stays on a heater. And I just think, obviously dominated the last time we were at this course, driving it great. Everything just seems to be lining up for him, which I feel like people have said that for like the last 9 years that he hasn't won a major. And so maybe now that I'm on him, it'll happen. So we'll see.
That's usually how it works. So that's perfect. I definitely was thinking about taking him, but I didn't want to. So I'm kind of glad you did it for me. I am going to pick Scotty though. Although I don't feel great about that, but I know that, knock on wood, I can hope that he will still finish really high up, so that could still be worth it in the points for me. I have a few other feelings about who could actually win a little bit later, but he's been so consistent. He's finished no worse than like 5th in his last 7 starts, including last week. So let's see what he does.
If I was second, that's who I would have picked too, even though I know he's
you almost picked him to not win. So. All right, Len. Who you got?
No, I'm sort of glad Rory is gone too, because this is one of those head versus heart things, and it would be so much fun for me to pick Rory and root for Rory, and go through the soul crushing drama after he doesn't win. But my number one pick in again, shameless plug, the power rankings, Cameron Smith. Pick with my head, not with my heart. Cameron Smith. He crushed the souls of an entire country, multiple countries last year at St. Andrews. He's just so good in this type of setup. He was top 10 at the PGA and the US Open, 2 tracks that are not his forte. He really might be the best golfer in the world right now, putting aside all the politics of golf and everything. He's just too good around the green, Cameron Smith.
All right, Len. I'm excited to see how this pans out. All right. Well,
you did.
Here he goes.
You did some good foreshadowing on getting the 4th pick. I'm actually very pleased to do that because there was a top 5 that I kind of put together. And I know Len and I differ on this a lot, but the guy I like the most this week is Rahm. He's just kind of sitting down there. No one's really talking about him. 4 months ago, everyone thought he was the best golfer in the world. I'm going on the upside there. Next one is go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I think Rahm is like crazy under the radar this week. Like I've not heard a peep talked about. They think Rahm's gonna win.
True, actually, neither have I.
Yeah.
He's amazing, but he's kind of been not as good. But I picked him when he won for the one and done earlier in the year. So I'm just saying. But
he won every week earlier in the year. So
that's true. It's very possible.
Like Scotty hasn't won since March, and Rahm hasn't won since April. But unlike Scotty, he's really not contending. He's
That's
just
true.
He hasn't played a ton, and he just fell to number 3 with Rory winning. But he's still the number 3 guy in most of the betting markets. You can only go so bad with picking the number 3 player in the world with the fourth pick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sounds like he's due for a win. That's what I'm hearing.
So Kevin gets to go again here, right? We're coming back the other way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Indeed. A lot of firepower left on the board here. But I also did some foreshadowing too here, and I'm going to go with Hovland. I just think he looks ready, and it's going to happen at some point. I'm leaving some big names on the board here, but he's going to be the guy for me at number 5.
Okay.
That probably would have been my next pick, right there. I do have him. I mean, he was amazing last year before his short game just became good in overnight or something close to it. So yeah, he's an excellent pick, and he could certainly win this tournament. I have 2 guys in my head right here, and I am going to pick probably my heart over my head with this one, but I'm going to go with Jordan Spieth. He's won in 2017. He's plays well here just about every year. I think he was 8th last year, and can play in any kind of course condition. I think this week, I think he can adjust and he can play well here. So I'm very happy to take him.
He dominates links courses too.
All right. Well, normally, I can't even believe I'm saying this right now based on how his season has been going, but I'm going to go with Ricky.
Let's go.
He's heading back to the scene of his second place finish in 2014. He's in career best form right now. 6 in true strokes gained over the last 6 months. 4 top 10s in the last 5 starts, including a win in Detroit. So, you know what? I was always a fan of Ricky. Let's do it.
He's so easy to root for too.
Yeah, he's so fun and great.
That is part of it. Like both of you just said, they're like, this is for fun. Like we kind of want to get guys we like. I'm not looking to target. Oh, well, we know who we're talking about here, line right. There's a few guys, but
it'll be fun to see all the little kids in orange raincoats out there this week supporting Ricky.
Hey, he definitely pushed the sport forward for fans and stuff too. Got more people interested, I think, in watching. So that's always a really cool aspect of it for me.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I love this spot, and I love the 2 golfers who just fell right in my lap.
Oh,
both of them have been unbelievable in their career at majors. One because he's been super consistent, and the other one just because he wins a bunch of them. So I'm going to take Xander Schauffele and Brooks Koepka. I just, if a major's being played, whether it's Links, whether it's a Firm and Fast US Open, whether it's Augusta National, I trust both those guys. So I feel pretty good about my squad so far.
Yeah, Brooks Koepka was the other guy I was considering, but then I thought I can't have 2 live guys.
Started off
1-2.
Yeah, it was between him and Hovland for me, even back at 5.
Yeah.
It's tough to beat the major record.
All right. Well, this is a tough next pick.
It gets hard right here.
It does. I mean, I kind of know who I want, but one of you put some really bad thoughts in my head, but I'm still going to do it. I'm going to go with Cantlay. He finished 14th or better in I think 3 major starts. Yeah. And he was tied for 9th 2 months ago at the PGA, tied for 8th at last year's Open at St. Andrews. So, I mean, if he can hold it together in the greens, I feel like he definitely has a chance. And as a 3rd pick, it's not too bad.
Yeah. Okay. Me again. To the 2 worst words in golf when you're playing. Me again. Oh, he's gone. Ricky Fowler is gone. This is my third guy. Let's go Tommy Fleetwood to finish, not first, but let's go Tommy Fleetwood.
Love it. Okay.
Two more. I gotta take Morikawa. I was pumping him up earlier. He's one here. We're going for the upside. No prize for second place. Next one, Shane Lowry.
Okay.
I like it. I was thinking about this, Morikawa, like, how would we view his year differently if he had just not blown that 6-shot lead at Kapalua that first week? It's like that just
Right.
something happened there where he just looked like unbeatable. Like this was some of the best golf he's ever played, and bogeys 3 in a row somehow. I didn't know tour pros could bogey 3 holes in a row around Kapalua. And since then, he's popped up a couple times here and there since then, but just
you
it's
wonder
not
if
quite
it's just
the same.
His head. You wonder if it just got in his head and something just got him into a funk. So many of these guys, they don't hit throughout their whole progression in their whole life. They don't hit any trouble spots in golf. They're killing everybody all the way. And then he was killing people coming right out of college too. He didn't have that, progression to get good. He was good. There aren't too many guys there. So yeah, that's interesting.
Right. He won 2 of his first 4 major starts, and he hasn't won since he won the Open in 2021 at St. George's. So that was kind of crazy to me.
He is due.
I was hoping his full swing section of the show would give some insight, but he seemed fine. There's nothing about his personal life that made me think, that was affecting him. So he's just not that good. We shall see. But I do like Lowry because he has finished in the top 25 at the Open ever since, I think, 2017. So, he's always been right there. You can grab it for sure.
He knows what he's doing over there. Yeah. And he's definitely he's a fan favorite of mine too, and that's for sure.
He doesn't mind the wind as much as everyone else.
Yeah, if the weather gets bad, that's good for Shane Lowry for sure.
Yeah. All right.
You?
All right.
Who
Back to Lynn.
Back to me. Back to me again.
Oh,
All right.
Okay. I was confused for a second.
I'm going to take Mr. Happy, Mr. Sunshine, Mr. Everybody loves to watch him play, Tyrrell Hatton. Just Tyrrell Hatton blaming everybody but him when anything goes wrong. He's blaming that blade of grass. He's blaming that grain of sand. But he can play very well this week. So loading up on a couple of Brits there with Fleetwood and now Hatton.
I thought you were talking about Bryson for a second there with all the complaining, but I guess there's a few guys like that.
You can have a pick of those guys.
I was thinking you're talking about Patrick Reed.
I like him actually. He's on my FSGA team. All right. Okay, wait. It's me now, right? Okay. There's someone I really want to pick, but I feel like I shouldn't based on this whole season. Hold on. I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with Fitzpatrick. He hasn't done much really in his previous 7 Open outings, but he hasn't been far off. He's finished 30th or better in his last 3 Open starts. So not great, but I feel like he's due for something. He has to. We'll see.
He's played there plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I just have a feeling about this guy, veteran guy from England, been around the block, Justin Rose, 42 years old. He had a pretty solid season. A lot of good finishes.
Absolutely.
He's just the type of guy that I think would do pretty well at this venue, and especially since the bunkering is going to tighten down for some of the longer hitters. I think he'll be just fine and be able to stay right in it. And then we will close out the squad with, I'm going to go with Corey Connors. I think he's another one that's you're going to want to hit a lot of greens and fairways this week, and that's obviously his specialty. He's putted a lot better this year than I think he has in recent years. Coming off a few solid finishes. For me, it was between either Connors or Wyndham Clark, but I'm going to go with Connors just because he has a few more years of experience on the links. So,
All right.
All right.
I like it. All right, so this is my last pick, right? Okay. So hypothetically, I would love to take Justin Thomas, but I don't know. I just can't. I'm gonna go with DJ. I got to get a live golfer in there. That's my only reason why.
yeah. Are you under contract?
Yes. Don't tell anyone. I had to fill my quota, Very important.
Tremendous upside.
Absolutely.
Sort of downside as well. But yeah, he could have a week and have a great week.
He's played sneaky good at link style courses over the years. He's had quite a few good finishes. You wouldn't really think this type of golf suits his game, but
top 10 the last 2 years at the Open, and top 10 at the last major. So yeah, I think he's pushing it though. His next birthday will be 40, but I like that play. I am gonna go with a real long shot because I just want to support my guys who I've written about, and I already have Jordan Spieth. I already have Cameron Smith. Well, now I'm going to take Jordan Smith.
Love it.
From England, and veteran Englishman, and rooting for the weather to blow, and he will do better. He's having a good year. I'm just not taking him to take him. He was 12th last week in Scotland in weather, and he's having a good season inside the top. What is he, about 80th in the world, 90th, something like that. He made the cut last year at the Open as well. So I'm just going to take a real wild card in Jordan Smith, known in some circles as Jordan L. Smith.
As you noted in your DraftKings article, another plug, the second best Jordan and the second best Smith. So you are covered.
Yes.
We've quietly took in 5 Englishmen already. So,
wow.
Kevin, do you want to close it out with another one?
My list does not include any Englishmen. The last 4 guys I have on my list are Finau, Young, Tom Kim, and our buddy JT. And I'm going to go ahead and take Tony Finau. I'm just going to bank on a lot of the numbers. And, again, here with the upside of the last pick, a lot of these guys, obviously, a lot of issues and struggles, but we're talking majors here, and I want the guys that I trust, and we're going that way to wrap it up.
I love it. Didn't Tony Finau kind of peak at the end of last year too? Or towards that?
Yeah, he finally started winning.
I think he won 2 straight, right?
Yeah, he did. And then
another
one. So
he's defending champ next week at the 3M, so he'll be there.
All right. I love it. Okay, these all seem like pretty good picks. I mean, we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for all of that. There are a few just little things we want to just talk to you about. One is that, RotoWire is part of a new charity with Fantasy Cares. We just wanted to give you guys a little rundown that, we're part of the Scott Fish Bowl with, normally with there's a dozen participants there, but we're taking our commitment to charity a step further this month. So for every new free trial sign up this July, we will donate $1 to Fantasy Cares. You can learn more and sign up for your free 2-day trial at rotowire.com/donate. It's rotowire.com/donate. You can help a great cause and see for yourself why tens of thousands of fantasy players invest in a RotoWire subscription. We do have a lot of tools, I promise, that are really, really awesome. I used the DraftKit app to do my fantasy football draft in Vegas last week, And it was super helpful just to kind of see who was still left, who was the best value for my next pick, and all kinds of things like that. So we have a draft kit app on iOS, among many other tools. So please check it out. Become part of the RotoWire team. We'd love to have you. Yeah.
Nice fantasy charity component, golf clap for charity component for anyone who signs up.
Love it. Yeah. Cool. Well, anything else that anyone else needs to know, you guys, before we kind of sign off here?
We've talked about this a lot.
Let's just root for weather. It'll be fun.
I'm the opposite. I'm rooting for -20 clearly with everything I've said today. But also, yeah, I mentioned we've talked about these a lot, but I work a lot with these guys' articles, and they are outstanding. Both all the power rankings, DraftKings, FanDuel. We also have Yahoo contest article, a weekly betting focus article, and then also a weekly preview article that kind of touches on all kinds of different formats. And we'll see if we can get an article going for the draft we just did too.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, like Len's power rankings he always does kind of really got me even more to playing fantasy golf in the first place. So thank you, Len. Those have always been really good.
Welcome.
But I love the very thorough list that you put together. There's a bunch of guys on there. It's not just the top 10. So to me, that's really helpful because you really dig down and find people ranking way lower that, a lot you wouldn't really normally think about or do research on. So
all 783 guys are in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great work.
What time are we setting the alarm clocks to? You guys stay up? You guys get up super early? What do you guys do for consuming the Open coverage?
Well, I'm in a different position than
I know.
You are in a favorable position. Yeah.
It's before. Well, it's before I go to bed. But then, when do you go to bed? Because it comes on at 9, at 10 at night, my time in Los Angeles, and only playing for the next 17 hours until it gets dark over there. So, yeah, it's pick your spots.
Can't miss Darren Clark going off of number 1. Do we know who's gonna hit the first tee shot? They always do. Somebody
Yeah, it's I read it this morning. If it's true, I read it on Twitter. So what's his name? Matthew Jordan. He's been a member at Hoylake since 7 years old.
Wow.
So they're gonna have, he qualified. He went through final qualifying, I think, and he got there. And that seems fitting. That's a lovely sentiment. Yeah.
Wow, what a nice life he's lived.
That is that's one great last final tip there for you, Len, too.
Yeah.
He knows his way around.
Yep.
I might have had him making the cut or something. He might have been inside the cut line there. Yeah, you would think that he would have, 20 years of edge, or I don't know. I'm not sure how old he is, but close to it. Yeah.
Very fun. I love it. Yeah, we'll see. I guess we're all in different time zones, right? So Len definitely has the advantage. I miss living in LA because when I lived there, you could, all of your opponents on fantasy would wake up before you, and you just had like a bigger chance to kind of wake up in time and get it all set. So we'll see how you do, Len.
Marginal, I'm sure.
Yeah. Looking forward to this week. Should be fun.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it's a good one.
All right.
Yeah.
Rory's going to come through and do it. So
I would root for that, even if it costs me in the pool. That would be right. Root for the story. Root to fun thing to write. Well, he's for me anyway. Yeah.
Well, he was in my FSGA league, so I need him to do well also. So
yes, and maybe he'll win a wee bit more.
Wee bit. That's what he said yesterday in his interview.
Yeah.
What was it? He said, a fan said, Rory, I won $300 betting on you. And Rory said, I think I won a wee bit more.
I love
kind
it.
of like
100
people. So
yeah.
Go Rory. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. So follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram at RotoWire. And we'll have more content pumping out throughout the week. And let's have a good time. See how it goes.
Thanks everybody. Good seeing you.
Bye. All right. Bye.